Welcome, football fans, to another edition of IDP Plus Bets. That is right, folks. I am your host, the Degen Doc, and we've got a really good one today. We've got another division rivalry game. Maybe I just missed the memo that, Thursday Night Football is just division rivalry football, but I love it. I absolutely love it. You got a heated rivalry here. We've got the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Seattle Seahawks here. And this is a bit of interesting territory. Obviously, these two teams have history. These two teams do not like each other. However, it's a bit interesting this season because now we have two teams that are typically solid teams that are not on the best footing right now. You got the Seahawks coming off 2 straight losses after starting 3-0. And then you have the San Francisco 49ers, a team that's trying to contend for the Super Bowl with just 2 wins on the season. So, they have not won a game in the division. They've lost both games there. So, this is a huge game for both teams. We talk about playoff race and we talk about the NFC West. The NFC West is absolutely wide open right now. Yes, the Seahawks are 3-2, but starting off 3-0 on that 2-game losing streak, they're 3.5-point dogs at home now. It's kind of shaky waters. There's really no clear winner. We just saw what Arizona did against San Francisco last week. So this is a really, really intriguing game here. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's break this game down like we always like to do here. We've got the San Francisco 49ers laying 3.5 on the road with a little bit of juice there over in Seattle on Lumen Field. Seattle catching 3.5 at -102. Over under sit in that 48.5 right now. Let's go through the injury picture. For your San Francisco 49ers, they've got a couple guys out. Really, for both teams, it's the defensive side of the ball that's really going to be key here when we talk about injuries. For the 49ers, their defensive tackle, Javon Hargrave, was already out, already on IR. Now, his backup, Jordan Elliott, is also out for this game. So we're kind of working on defensive tackle 3 there. Kyla Davis, who is a player who's shown some promise. They're happy about. He's dealt with some injuries in the past. It looks like he's going to get some run if it's not going to be Kevin Gibbons there. Also, linebacker, probably the forgotten linebacker of the trio, Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles is out this game as well. And then the big one, really, for the San Francisco defense, it's Hufanga, Talanoa Hufanga. Apologize. Definitely probably butchered that. But he's a key piece back there. Now, he was coming off an ACL tear from last year, so he wasn't quite that kind of dominant superstar force that he was kind of slowly creeping up to that level. He's going to be out a couple weeks, unfortunately, with, I believe they placed him on IR, with the wrist injury. He has torn ligaments in his wrist. He requires surgery. So at least 4 weeks, if not closer to 6 weeks there for Hufanga. And then kicker Jake Moody. We can't forget about the kickers there because, honestly, a huge reason why the San Francisco 49ers lost last week was because they didn't have Jake Moody. Suffered a high ankle sprain. They brought in, I believe, Matt Wright is their new kicker. But in the NFL today, they're bringing kickers off the street and they're hitting 40, 50 yarders. So, 50, 60 yarders, excuse me, like nothing. So maybe not the biggest loss there, but, whenever you're out your starting kicker, you kind of have some questions. A guy who's just brought off the street there. Also, cornerback Charvarius Ward, questionable. Sounds like he's going to play, but we'll know for sure in a little bit once the inactive's released, typically about 90 minutes before kickoff. All right, on the Seahawks side of the ball, we've got offensive line problem. Right tackle number 1, Abram Lucas, out. George Fant, his backup, on IR. So we've got Stone Forsythe. Unfortunately, a former Florida Gator, but he's struggling. He is struggling pretty big time. So the fact that they brought in 42-year-old Jason Peters off the couch. I don't know what Jason Peters what problems he's going to solve at this point in his career, but you got to be pretty desperate if you're doing that. So you got some offensive line issues there. Then you also, on the defensive tackle, Byron Murphy's out. Uchenna Nwosu, they're really kind of studded pass rusher. He just came off the IR with an MCL sprain. Now he's right back on the IR with a thigh injury. I don't know if he's officially placed yet, but that was definitely where they said he's going to be placed. And then star cornerback Tariq Woolen, one of their best players, if not probably the best player in their secondary, is out this week. Obviously, a guy who kind of shuts down half of the field. So now that really opens things up for this 49ers offense. And that kind of leads me into what I'm going to be getting on here, getting over to some of my best bets now for this game. I really, the way I see this game going, I think both offenses are going to have success. The number right now at 48.5, it opened at 46. It kind of shot up to almost 50 and then it's kind of been bet back down. I think I would go over. Like, I think there's going to be success in points, but with the division rivalry game on a Thursday night, 48.5, I don't think it's the wrong side, but I think a lot has to go right there for that to hit. So I'm staying away from the total here. But what I will do is I will go to a side. Give me San Francisco -4 at -102, I believe was what I grabbed it at over on DraftKings there. Yes, you could take the -3.5 at -118. I'm pretty confident in the San Francisco team. A couple things here. They've been beat up this season. I do not see them dropping to 2-4. I think they're going to have a lot of success both through the air and through the ground. Now, the Seahawks defense this season has been pretty poor against the run, seen by my New York Football Giants. Tyrone Tracy, rookie, rushing for over 120 yards. But their pass defense been pretty good. But that was a pass defense with Tariq Woolen in it. And you got Julian Love, safety for them, is also banged up on the back end. Whether he plays or not, whether he might be limited because he hasn't practiced much this week. So you've got a decent secondary, but it's got a little beat up. So I think the 49ers have an advantage on offense on both sides there. So I really like the 49ers in this game. I think they put it on them. And when you look over at the 49ers side of the ball, on defense, they're kind of average against the pass and the run. But especially if the Seahawks go down early, they seem to abandon the run, which is kind of a shame for all the, Kenneth Walker owners there, because they're rushing it at like 5 yards a clip. They just, they're whatever, it's the coaching, play calling, they just seem to abandon the run. And I think if they get into that too early, look, this offensive line is not good. Geno Smith is going to be running for his life here. I'm gonna bring up on the screen here. I promise I'm not just reminiscing on a Giants victory that doesn't always happen too often. But if we take a look here at the box score from just last week, where the Seahawks gave up 7 sacks to the New York Football Giants. Now, I know what you're thinking. Giants sacks. It's got to be Kayvon Thibodeau. It's got to be Brian Burrs. Maybe Azeez Ojulari. No. They did get one apiece there, but really it was Dexter Lawrence. Now, look, Dexter Lawrence, Sexy Dexy, one of the best defensive tackles, if not the best defensive tackle with Aaron Donald out, being retired in the game. However, his kind of running mates also got in on the action. Raheem Nunez-Roches, who's known as a run stopper, he picked up half a sack. And then DJ Davidson, kind of the other guy next to Dexter Lawrence who kind of spells him, or when they go to a 4-man front, he also got 2 sacks. So it's not like you have to be this elite guy in the middle to disrupt. And the edge rushers got home too. So there's a clear problem there for the Seahawks offensive line. So that leads me into 2 of my bets here. I'm going to go with defensive tackle for the 49ers, Malik Collins, over a quarter of a sack at +150. Honestly, I mean, you got the DK has Bosa. You got to lay some juice for that. And then they've got Leonard Floyd at like +135. Malik Collins has 2.5 sacks on the season. So he actually has more sacks than Leonard Floyd. And I just talked about it. I think the vulnerability, as much as we talk about the right tackle being at the third guy now, that interior offensive line clearly has some issues. I mean, they gave up 5.5 sacks just to interior defensive linemen last week. So I really like the Malik Collins play. He's just got to get over a quarter of a sack there at +150. And then also with this, Geno Smith, 25+ rushing yards at 3-1. Now, obviously, his normal number is at 13.5. So if you're not maybe as on board with this as I am, you just take the kind of typical over 13.5 rush yards at -110. But Geno Smith has quietly used his legs a decent amount this season. In games that he has decided to run, let's see, the last 2 games, he's got 72 yards last week on the ground. Now, I don't think he does that. But again, the week before against Detroit, when he was down and having to throw a lot, 5 carries for 38 yards. When they played the Denver Broncos in the first week, 4 carries for 30 yards. Now, against Miami, New England, he didn't really need to run. They kind of had those games in control there. But when he does decide to run, whether it's due to pressure or whether it's, hey, they're in man coverage and he sees that things open up, he's really been getting out there. So I love Geno Smith, 25+ rush yards at 3-1 there. And then my final bet I'm going to give out here, Jordan Mason over 90.5 rushing yards at +115. Look, I understand it's a chalky play. I understand a lot of people are on this, but I think it's for good reason. I mean, sometimes, just because the public is over a bet, that doesn't mean they always lose, right? I just think this bet makes a lot of sense. The Seahawks front seven is beat up. I clearly like the 49ers in this game. In the two games that the 49ers have won, Jordan Mason has rushed for 123 yards and 147 yards. So in a game where I expect the 49ers to take care of business, I like Jordan Mason to get, obviously over the 9.5. I'm going to bet it up to 100 there. I think that when they have the game in control, like I expect them to have this game, they feed him and he gets 20 plus carries. And, at 5 yards a clip, he's going to get over that 9.5 number. So those are the plays I like. Obviously, a lot of correlated plays with me liking San Francisco. It makes sense that I think Geno's going to be running for his life and there's going to be a couple sacks there. The one little bit of a sprinkle I will give out for an anytime touchdown for this game, AJ Barner, plus 750 anytime touchdown. I know you're probably like, who the hell is AJ Barner? Well, he's the Seahawks tight end number 2. He's already got a touchdown on the year. They like to sneak him in there. Noah Fant, they don't really use him a ton. They like when they have those 2 tight end sets. I like 2 tight end sets down by the goal line, a little play action. Nobody on the San Francisco 49ers defense is doing any scouting reports for AJ Barner. So I like for him to kind of sneak in there and get a nice touchdown at plus 750. I think there's some good odds there. So really quick as a recap, I like San Francisco -4 at -102. I like Geno Smith, 25 plus rushing yards at 3-1. Jordan Mason over 9.5 rushing yards at plus 115. Defensive tackle Malik Collins over 1/4 of a sack at plus 150. And then a little bit of the sprinkle, AJ Barner, anytime touchdown at plus 750. All right, folks, look, I am excited for another division rivalry game here for Thursday Night Football. I think we're in for a good one. 2 desperate teams. Both these teams are in desperate need of a win. I just think the 49ers are a little bit more desperate and get the job done. All right, folks, from the Degen Doc here at IDP Plus Bets. Definitely like, subscribe, do all those things. As a newer channel, we very, very much appreciate it. Going live every Thursday. And then on Fridays, I release my best bets for NFL Sunday. We've hit our long shot in 3 straight episodes. So that'll be dropping tomorrow. Been profitable all 3 straight weeks. So I hope you come join me for that. That'll be Friday, dropping on the network. All right, folks. If you're tailing, good luck. And if you're not, what are you doing? All right, from the Degen Doc here at IDP Plus Bets, I am out of here.